Hey guys, welcome to our first podcast. This is from the Benchmark Canterbury team. I'm Mitch.
James, and Michael.
Hey guys, we'll be covering all things with this podcast from health and performance, and I'm looking to explore any questions and queries you guys have, and speak to like-minded guests that specialize in certain fields, whether it be from like diet, performance, physio, whatever it happens to be. So this is something that we hopefully can explore together and kind of take this journey with you guys and start learning some more stuff and dive into actionables we can all take away.
Should we start with a little bit about ourselves?
Yeah. Sweet. Mickey, you want to go? We'll go
Yeah,
youngest?
sure.
Youngest, oldest.
Youngest oldest, sweet. Yeah. Michael Bordock, I guess. Exercise and sports science graduate, studied that. Currently doing masters of high performance sport. Been training for a long time. Played rugby union for a long time as well. So really got involved trying to get bigger and get better for that sport, and then kind of fell in love with training. Went on to do my degree in it because I wanted to know how to best train to be good at sport. And then obviously was brought onto the team here, brought in into Benchmark here, and then have obviously loved all my time and experience here and gone on to train and become a coach here. So not sure how much detail we're going into.
And a bloody great coach. Well
Oh,
done, Mickey.
Thank you very
Incredible,
much.
yeah.
Mitch Barb. I've been training for quite a few years now. Once upon a time was in the army. I got out of the army like a little bit lost, but I knew like something I loved and what my passion was training myself and physical fitness. And this from that just self interest and just self indulgence. Wanted to dive deeper down into it and started doing the entry level courses. And then the deeper I kind of got into it, the more I'm like, hey, I love this. This is fantastic. This is good to go. And then got into PT for a few years and just laid the information and the context from there and bumped into James at a point. And in this industry, like at that point, it's rare to find like-minded minds with same ethoses and same principles. And at that point, we're kind of paired up and we're like, hey, we should take this a step further. And from there, we created Benchmark Canterbury, which has been such a beautiful project to be a part of and very proud to be a part of. And from there, the kind of learning journey has continued. And from there, 5 years in now, yeah,
Yeah.
and loving it, and just love being a coach, and love helping out people and solving problems, and getting that little penny drop with moments with our members. We're like, hey, wait a minute, I'm pretty good at this. I enjoy being healthy. I enjoy being strong and healthy, and to help people along that journey is like such a fantastic feeling.
Okay. Fantastic, Mitch.
Mm.
Love it. I'm very similar myself. I've been training now for about 20 years. So I started kind of out of college, doing a placement, and really enjoyed it. Like I kind of put in the deep end, so I experienced straight away what a coach shouldn't be. I had an introduction from a coach who took me to a client, and he was training the client, and then halfway through him training the client that the client was paying for. And this was my first week doing any sort of training. He walked off and said, "You take the rest of this." He said, "Take the next 20 minutes." So that last 20 minutes for me was me looking up on the board. And I don't know if you remember, but lots of gyms used to have boards where they have all these exercises on the top, like how to do core, how to do shoulders. So I was pretty much running a session 20 years ago, first experience ever, where I was choosing things off the board and giving the lady something to do. And then kind of from there, in and out of training myself with soccer, playing a decent level of soccer, and really enjoying it. But then again, getting some injuries and getting some really bad advice. So later on in time, with some hiatuses, working in like pubs as managers, restaurants as managers, getting back into training, and just loving it from then on. I've been doing this for about 16 years now, and I love every minute of it. All the way to like just researching stuff at home, reading up, learning as much as possible, to being able to apply it in our group training gym here, Benchmark Canterbury.
You're a proper nerd in the best way.
Yeah,
Loves it.
so yeah, self-confessed nerd, definitely.
I think that's one of the best things about this place is the endeavor never stops, and whatever you're reading, from like breaking down articles to listening to other podcasts to consuming as many books as you can. Like that's what this job is. It's continuous education to try and keep up with what's currently happening and how to evolve yourself and how to evolve this practice.
Yeah, and like Michael and Mitch touched on just then, is you start off being quite selfish. You want to learn to develop yourself. Like you want to get as strong, put as much muscle on, look as good as possible. And then later on, you kind of learn that you can help people with the knowledge that you've gained, and then you can kind of put that to the test, and you can help as many people as possible.
I think one of the biggest things, like maybe last couple of years, or maybe even a bit earlier on in the journey, it's just not biomechanics. It's not just strength training, slaying the weights, and how to do that, and run into those biomechanical efforts, but how psychological training is, and how to approach members, and how to kind of approach programming and structures and environment with a positive psychological aspect to it as well. Like, and that's even basic as from like goal setting, habit setting, and things of that nature, and understanding what the person actually wants and is after, and how to help guide that journey towards them.
Yeah, I definitely think the biggest issue you come across with training people is just getting them to be consistent. Like most people can do anything, but they just have to be able to do that anything often. And you see just so many people come in the doors. Some people are so under motivated, or some people over motivated, and sometimes it's just pulling them all into the middle, and just making sure they're setting realistic goals for themselves. Right? I think we've all experienced that a lot.
Yeah, and I think a big thing as well is like the psychological aspect is figuring out how someone understands information, how they bring it in. So you can say something to one person and it will mean something completely different to someone else. So finding that common ground of what they think you're going to mean when you say something.
That again is something that you learn so later on. I reckon. Like Michael, you're early onto it. Definitely took me years. It's how important language is, and like how you explain something to one person, but then you say the same thing to someone else, but you say it completely differently, because you start to get an understanding of that person, and once you have the understanding of that person, you kind of know where their bias is and what they want to get from it, and you just tailor your words into a something that they buy into.
And like that's like just prodding and just finding those next, peeling back that onion and finding, what do you mean by that? Explain that more. Oh, so okay, more context, please. What does that mean? So, e.g., like, how many times have we come across like, hey, I want to lose a bit of weight. Okay, what would you like to lose weight for? Oh, yeah, I just want to feel better. Oh, okay. What do you want to feel better for? Well, actually, I want to take this weight off so I feel better and have more energy to play with my kids. Oh, cool. That's an awesome reason. Oh, why do you want that? "Oh, I want to be a really active, engaged dad." Boom, there you go. You want to be there for your kid and be able to play with them the whole time, and take off a few kilos for that. You can rip back a few of those layers. You've got a bloody good motivation to start with. And now our job is, because motivation's short term, it's not a long term effort, is how do we build some habits around that and layer up, and you can understand your why and what direction you want to go with. Now we can layer and provide a good structure for you to tackle to achieve that goal.
Yeah, so it's the why behind the why behind the why behind the why all the way down. And you see it often with people, and again down to language, when someone says I want to be strong, and you kind of have to say to them, what does strong look like to you? Like how do you determine strong? And one person it may be actually putting on muscle and not actually worrying about lifting a weight. And for another person, it may be a specific exercise. It may be a squat. It may be a deadlift, and that's how they perceive strong and what strong being. But then there's someone else. Maybe I just want to be able to do my gardening. I want to be able to pull roots out and not feel weak. I want to be able to move that box like around the house for my wife or kids.
And this conversation is so important to have with anyone's journey, whether it be something similar to what we do in a group training setting, to obviously a one-on-one setting. And if you're not even, you don't have guidance, to have that conversation within yourself to go, hey, what am I trying to achieve when I'm trying to get a bit fitter, get a bit healthier, stronger, weight loss, to be competitive in anything, just to break down and just have a bit of a think about it. And what am I after, and how am I going to achieve this? I think it's a bit of a must when you take this journey.
And also, yeah, like you said, Mitch, as it helps the coach, so it helps the coach guide the experience for the person when they know their why. I think it also helps the individual truly understand why they might be doing what they're doing, and then they see real reason in the pursuit or even the journey of getting fit rather than just searching for the goal. Right? Then little things can become bigger to them. Like, okay, I did actually move a little bit more weight this week, so actually I feel good about that. I'm on the right path.
And so often that when we sit down with someone and we're trying to peel back these onions, or trying to find that why, and what we're trying to achieve with this person, and trying to understand not just what they're after, but what are they already kind of doing? How busy are they at work? How much crazy stuff do they have in their own family personal life? What's actually achievable? And what is that lowest hanging fruit that we can go for to try and achieve, to go, hey, we got a bit of success? And honestly, someone comes in and might go, I want to train 7 days a week. I want to go so hard and I want to achieve this in like 3 weeks. I'm like, mate, it can be in a very delicate way. Like, honestly, mate, 2 sessions would be a massive win if we got this. Step through the door, and that's your task. Whatever happens after that is a win.
Yeah, then people do exist. Then people who say they'll do 7 sessions and
Mm,
can successfully do 7 sessions. But if you're truly being challenged in the gym, 7 sessions isn't going to get you where you want to get anyway. I find it hard to believe that person's working hard enough in the sessions, or that even they're maybe not doing the right thing.
yeah,
Their
most definitely.
results.
And how good's layering to go, hey, like you did two. Guess what, mate? If you can make that sustainable, let's pop three in there. You can do that. Let's talk four. How you feeling? How's the body recovering? How's the success at the moment? Do we maintain? Do we adjust? The ability to layer and add on a new habit or a new task is it's always there for us later on.
Yeah, and I suppose it also depends for us in a gym environment. It depends where that person came from. Like some people have come to us after doing 3-4 sessions a week, and hey, that's maintain 3-4 sessions a week. That's up the intensity inside them 3-4 sessions. That's up the volume, and we'll see if we can get you more on top of what you had. Whereas other people, and especially around COVID times, right, we have a lot of people who have actually been doing nothing or very minimal at home, and to then ask them to do 4 or 5 big sessions where you're quadrupling the volume, maybe you've got to be pretty smart on where you take them from there. You've got to look at where they have been. Yep. What kind of volume intensity they've been doing very recently or into the last year or two, even dating back to when they're kids, maybe, because that tells you a lot. And then you've got to progress that volume from when they're starting with you rather than just push them into this is what we do with everyone.
Yeah, but those cookie cut approaches, they're definitely out there. Like mum that's like 40 years old, has three kids, has been inactive for quite a few years and trying to get back into it, doing the exact same program as a young 20-year-old bloke that's playing rugby is it's a tough ask. So having the right kind of methods and the right training principles that the individual can adapt or the program can adapt to that individual is a must. That adaptation should be constant throughout programming to suit the individual's task and needs.
And why change? Like you'll find that some people start off on a training journey with quite simple goals, and when they actually experience training, they actually start to understand a little bit more. They start to see things that they really enjoy, and we're all generally better at things we enjoy, right? Whether it be we're better at the things we enjoy, or we enjoy the things because we're better at them. But you slowly see people actually be able to set more specific goals as they train.
Mm.
Like, oh, actually, it's a common one, but I really like deadlifting, so I'm actually going to set my goals a little bit more around the deadlift, and that's we can actually use that as a I lost the word, but a test to see if we're actually improving.
Mm.
So we can actually say, okay, well, the deadlift, if we want to get strong, we can use the deadlift, and if we're improving the deadlift, pretty much everything is going in the right direction, right? If you're coming in one week and you're much weaker, then maybe we have to look at your recovery. Maybe you haven't recovered enough to get back into the session, and or maybe we have to look at the load and intensity that we're doing in the sessions with yourself, and you can use that to actually tell yourself that you are getting stronger. So you can set very specific goals later on in time.
Yeah, I think that comes back to as well, not just specific, but you touched on that as a measurable goal. Like, I mean,
That's
it
the
is
word.
very yeah, it's your measure. Yeah, your deadlift's your measure because that's what the goal's about. So it's tricky if you're, I think Mitch used the example for I want to feel better, which is a very common goal and it's a good goal by all means, but you need to. That's why you need to delve deeper into the why and figure out what does feeling good. How does that represent? How do you go? Oh, how can I track my progress to say in a month? So I'm not asking myself, oh, do I feel better? Do I? Do I? Don't I? I mean, that's a tricky thing to answer if you don't have the further layers down to understand.
So we have the kind of objective goal
Mm.
for someone who just has a feeling. We kind of call it subjective feelings of wellness, right? Like where
Yeah,
someone says, "This is how I want to feel," and then we want to progress that by saying, "Okay, let's get really specific. Let's have something we can actually track inside that subjective goal that tells us that we're getting towards where you want to get." And we have to make that a little bit more objective.
You lightly just touched on it a few moments ago. Pardon me. Is when you're starting, there is that process of learning language and learning processes. And to come in and to be a student and to be a beginner is one of the best things you can ever do when you enter any training modality. Just to be there to learn and go, oh, this is the language they use. And don't be afraid to ask, what does this mean? What does that mean? And having that context around how things are done, it's going to provide more education to you to have more success in your outcomes. And I just want to kind of slightly go off topic, but on topic at the same time, is having the right training methods for your goals. So, e.g., like let's just say uh, we're after, again, it's another common one, a bit of weight loss, subjective efforts of wellness. You might not want to be just diving into like a strict raw powerlifting program. And if you're walking into a powerlifting gym, and like, don't get me wrong, you can have success here, But if you walk into that powerlifting gym, like, hey, I want to lose 15 kilos. I want my cardio to be a lot better. I want to be able to run 10 kilometers. That training modality might not be the best way to go there.
So the way I see that is the interference of the two goals. So number one, if you're going into powerlifting, you're going to be looking at lifting weights, yeah, and then you have a goal of wanting to lose weight. So if I want to lift a heavier weight, I'm probably going to have to feed myself enough to increase that and recover really quickly for my next session and get the right amount of volume. But if I'm actually trying to lose weight at the same time, there's interference of these two goals. So the interference is that I can't eat. I need to eat less to lose some weight, while I have to eat a lot to perform at my best.
Let's give a similar example. Let's say like a high intensity, continuous orientated type of training facility. And that's all they do. There's nothing outside of that. And you walk in there going, hey, I want to put some muscle on. Let's go. Again, it's going to be limited with the ability to kind of layer that hypertrophy and kind of get that muscle on with that one system.
And it's not that it can't be done, but you have smaller boundaries to work inside. You have to be very precise with them kind of goals if you're going to do them kind of things. Whereas if you kind of set the less interference, where I kind of have a training set program that kind of sets me up for results, then I can make a few more mistakes.
Yeah.
We're touching on a big principle. Sorry, Mitchie.
Yeah,
and I hate that I have to say it because I cannot say the word to save my life. But one of the biggest principles of training is that specificity. I think
Specificity.
I can't say it.
100%. This is kind of what I want to segue into. Like, if you know your why, you know your goal, then you're going to kind of know what type of place you want to be around, and what environment, what type of coaching, what type of programs do they use. If you know those things, you can find the place to thrive. But you can make things more difficult for yourself if you're not in that type of environment or without that type of programming. So first understand yourself, and you can find that right type of place that you can kind of thrive in and achieve what you need to achieve.
And I do think training in the gym should be more performance based in general with people, and then the nutrition should be taking care of these more body composition goals with people. And what I often see is the nutrition kind of lacks helping people perform better, which doesn't help building habits. And if that's what we're kind of discussing right now, your why, building habits towards achieving that why, and quite often what happens is people will eat too little, come into the gym, and their sessions become just trying to burn calories rather than them see that they are improving as human beings by, like, for example, hitting a higher wattage on a bike or lifting a heavier weight, which is going to build such amazing habits over time. They're going to be wanting to come back because they're improving over and over again. And if you can get the two things right, where they look in the mirror and they go, I like what I see, and like mentally and physically, I know that I'm improving as a human, then you're going to win-win. You're going to get them coming in more consistently. They're going to be just getting stronger, fitter, and all the things you kind of want from training everyone.
And that's beautiful. Let's celebrate performance. Because how good is that? Like when
Yes.
your team gets behind you, like, well done, it's 100 extra wattage, well done. You lifted 2.5 more. And what can be seen as marginal gain should be celebrated. Because it's not marginal, it's massive. It's huge what you've just achieved. You've improved your whole biology. Well done to you.
Yeah, you stress yourself enough for your body to have to adapt, which is incredible.
Yeah, 100%. And like that performance can be tracked in almost a million different ways. Obviously there's those easy examples you listed there with objective increases of certain things, but it's also what we said before with coming in that extra session a week consistently. That's an increase in performance per output per week.
Yeah, wow, what an easy way to add volume and intensity. Just do an extra session.
Yeah, beautiful. That's fantastic.
And with that in mind as well, it's kind of like you look back at something that I wish I was told at a very early stage, and I think I'd be in a different place even now. Like with my own personal training is tracking. Like
Yeah.
if when I first met a coach and I said I wanted to put on some size at like the age of 16, and he said you should just eat as much junk food as possible, I wish he'd said to me, okay, so just make sure that whatever you do in the gym today, do roughly the same thing in a couple of days, and try and do it better. Do an extra rep or two, put a little bit more weight on it, and track it, write it down. And it took me a long time to get tracking down, and it improves your momentum with training, and you actually get results because I think when people start tracking, they start a bit too ambitious, and the next they want to think that they have to put weight on the bar, extra reps every single week.
Keep it marginal, baby.
Yeah, slowly steady wins the race, and I wish I'd been doing it slower for steadier for longer.
And what the beautiful thing that does, it's accountability towards yourself. Like, hey, I'm going to beat my past self by 1 rep, 1 kilo, half a kilo, doesn't matter. I'm going to try and beat my previous self. That also keeps you accountable to your recovery as well. So I know this session I'm going to do next week is the same as last week. I'm going to make sure I sleep well. I'm going to eat well. I'm going to have good habits at home, good relationships, everything I can do to get my system primed and ready for that day. And I'm going to beat myself from that previous session.
And I do think there's something people get wrong as well, is that when I've come in and I've lifted a heavier weight, then what's happened is I've already adapted previous to that session. The recovery has done its job for me to be able to achieve what I achieved that day. I'm not actually just improving in that moment. I improved
Huge.
before the session, after the last session, from the stimulus provided previously. And I think lots of people mistake that. So if you're not recovered that well, then it's probably not the best time to be shooting for really high lifts or your personal bests.
Just to like elaborate more on accountability, like tracking being an accountability aspect. I'm biased, obviously, because of our group training system here, but that accountability through coaching and being around other people is another huge way to kind of drive home performance. How cool is it to have a positive environment when people are like, good work, you can do it, kick some butt. And the coach is following you up saying, hey, mate, you did really well last week, pat on the back, or, maybe the other end of the spectrum, like, hey, you haven't been in, sessions have been dropping off, we're not getting that stimulus we need. How are you doing, mate? Is life all right? Is things all right? When can you get back in? That accountability is a huge way to kind of drive that progress and adaptation that we're all after.
And when we're talking about goal setting and we're talking about building momentum, you have to understand that life does get in the way sometimes. And I believe that when life isn't in the way, make sure you're training, because life's gonna get in the way. And when it does get in the way, you can look back and go, okay, well, I can have a week off. I can spend more time with my family this week. There's no problem. I don't have to feel guilty for not getting into the gym, because when I can, I do.
That's a huge point. Like, I'm sure we can all name multiple things that have happened throughout the years, been like, hey, things have just gotten in the way. We just do what we can do and we be kind to ourselves. If you just sit there beating yourself up all day that you missed a session, it does you no good. And if you relay that to a coach or something, or anyone, just go, hey, crazy, no one's going to really mind. It's going to be supportive and go, mate, hope you're well, hope things are great, can't wait to see you back in.
And sometimes you can just set some lower expectations for the session. You're here, you can get it done. And then most of the time, it maybe just takes you a little bit longer to warm up and something in the session is better. We often see like you have your main lift. And this is normally what we use as our trackable, our measurable lift anyway, because the first thing you're doing, so is there's less variables to affect it. But sometimes you'll find that people might not lift so much, or they might lift the same amount that day, but then they achieve greater in one of their more accessory lifts, which is still a win.
Beautiful word, auto regulation. Like, you're just going to adapt to how you're feeling that day. Like, let's give a rough example. You've had a fight with your partner, work's been horrible, kids have been a nightmare. You come in that next day, it's not going to be PB day. You got to be kind to yourself and adjust to how you're feeling. If that does mean stripping off load or reducing volume, or just doing half the session or just the main lift, it doesn't matter. Just do what you can and be okay with leaving that rest on the table. And when you do feel better, we'll come after it next time and crush it when we're feeling good to go.
And we try to take care of that for our members in the session, and by specifically using a reps in reserve as what they should be doing that day. So we let them feel how many reps they think they have in the tank, which as a newbie can be very, very hard for members to get right. But as they get better and better and use it more and more, they start feeling what 1 rep in the tank feels like, 2 in the tank feels like, and 3 reps in the tank feels like. And that is going to auto regulate you for that day anyway. So you may be like, oh, I picked up the same weight as last week, but that felt like 1 rep in the tank rather than what it's supposed to be this week, 3. So I dropped back a little bit this week. And really your body never knows the weight that's being used in that moment in time. There is obviously a certain amount of pressure that goes into the muscles to create a stimulus, but your body doesn't know what the weight is.
This is a 7.5. This is a 12. Like, it doesn't happen. It just goes, hey, this is heavyish. This is lightish. This is nothing.
So by using a reps in reserve, we can control and kind of auto-regulate our members rather than using a percentage-based scheme. And I've seen some recent information about percentage-based schemes and reps in reserve, and how when using a percentage-based scheme over reps in reserve, people were some days lifting 30 kilograms over what they should and up to 22 kilograms under what they should. So it's a good sign that auto-regulation is actually going to help you improve when you should be improving, maybe help you hold back a little bit when you should be holding back.
This is weight. This is like go for a run. This is on the bike, on the treadie, whatever. Just whatever movement you can apply that to. And we've all been there, right? You walk into the gym one day and you might not feel that great, but you walk in and suddenly everything's light. You're killing it. You're feeling fantastic. And that's green lights to go kick some butt and crush it. But if you walk in and you're like, I'm sluggish, I'm slow, I can't get out of second gear, they're all that you adhere to your reps in reserve, and you're going to be pretty all right. But we've all been there. We've all had it.
Oh, 100%. And I think one of the important things is, especially around that, is the example. Say, take the example you gave before of the nightmare situation between your relationships, your kids, your work, whatever it may be. Sometimes you have like that, and it's important to come to the gym or whatever training you're doing, and then you get in and then you feel great after you warm up. And they're the days you go, oh shit, it's not. I'm not as fragile as I thought I was, or I'm not affected, or I've actually recovered pretty well. It's just
We've all had it, right? Like
Yeah.
we've all three of us have tracked or some of us still are now. Right now, I've stopped, but I know you two are tracking like your heart rate variability,
Yeah.
which gives you a good understanding of your recovery for that day. And I've had some of my worst recoveries come in, just going, okay, I'll do it. I don't feel like doing it, and then I started it, and then went, oh my god, this is a good day for me. I'm lifting everything more than I was expecting. So sometimes, like how you're feeling isn't going to be the best interpretation of actually what kind of session you're going to have.
Oh, what a mental win that is too. If you're like, this is a good day. I feel great.
And then you have the other ones.
Yeah. Oh god, when that's testing time and you have one of those off days, you're like, oh no, I'm meant to be PBing.
yeah, it's
Oh,
tricky.
it's
I think
hard,
that's a
it's
tough thing as well, like to communicate with something. And there's plenty of stuff that comes out that can say, I'm not sure how much of this is actually like real evidence and not just anecdotal, but there's plenty of people out there who will use a metric like heart rate variability or whatever other trackables are out there, and they'll go, "Oh shit, I've had a terrible recovery day. There's no way I could train." Whereas that's because they've woken up or they've opened their phone, looked at a number, and then that's dictated how they feel, which is good and bad. Sometimes it goes, "Oh, I'm green, I'm sweet, I'm flying." Other times they go, "Oh, damn, I'm in the yellow, I'm in the yellow. I better not train today. I better take it easy." Whereas if they could still go in, get some movement and get a lift in, realize they're feeling good, and get some good stimulus in,
And with busy lifestyles, Monday's my only day I can train. I wake up on a Monday morning with a red. I shouldn't be training, and I'm not going to train today. Then, how long is it going to take before you can get back in the gym?
100%. Now, this is like a whole separate conversation, but
Oh,
touching on
yeah.
it lightly, like being too reliant on tools and being too adherent to them. They're just tools. We just use them. They feed us a bit of information. It's what we do with that information that's important.
But yeah, just the data accumulation that you can take from it, and one of the big things as well is you don't put that Whoop on or that Aura ring on day one and expect it to know anything about you on day one. You actually have the more information you can accumulate from that, the better information it can give you.
We'll tie back into like kind of goals a little bit.
Mm.
I'll ask you boys. So like, okay, achieve goal number one. Let's say goal number one was to do a first chin, and the individual slowly builds up there and kicks butt and hits it. What would you like kind of advise for next steps going forward? Like, I don't know what to do. I'm loving training. Everything's feeling great. What should I do next? Where would you take that conversation with them?
Uh, well, from that conversation, I'd go, okay, so what do you love most? Like, what have you loved about this? What did you like the most about getting that chin up or whatever that goal was that they've achieved? And then, or is there anything else on your list? You said you'd never done a chin up before. You want to do that? Bang, ticked off. Do you now want to build on that goal again, or do you want to pick a new one? Do you want to go, let's do 5 chin ups, or do you want to go, no, time to work on a push up? That's where I'd go.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Michael. It's like why you've been getting that chin up. It hasn't just been that you haven't just been doing chin ups. You've been doing tons of other things as well. And what's happened? Why you've been building up towards a chin up? Have you put on some muscle size, and now you're just like, okay, I could do with more muscle size? Is it that you've done the chin up and now you want 5 chin ups? It's a could go anywhere.
Yeah, I've got a horrible spoiler warning to anyone listening. This never stops. It just keeps going.
100%. It's like once you step into the gym, it's like you're forever feeling weak in a sense, aren't you? Like you lift a weight, you change yourself, and then the next time you come in, you change yourself a little bit more, and so you should always be feeling like you're being challenged to some level.
Yeah.
Weak's probably not the right
Yeah,
word.
I was gonna.
I'll take that back.
Oh.
Speaking about that, is it like again back to language? It's like how when we do discuss people's goals with them, how we use our words, and like for myself, even saying something like that, I quite often catch myself saying things like that, and I'm still like, oh, no, don't say that to them. You want to be like using positive reinforcement words as often as possible over negative, and as often as possible trying to explain how they're going to get there without kind of nocebo in them or. Like often in here, we do a screening with people, so we actually test their movement and their strength before we even start with them, so we have a good understanding of things and where they're going to go, and we just make sure they don't feel like they are breakable. Make sure people feel like they are strong human beings and very capable, like all human beings are. Yeah, no matter your background. People, best thing about human beings is we adapt. Give us a stress, we slightly adapt to it. We
And we're
move
more robust than you
forward.
think too. And like the best thing coming into an environment like this is you've got people that know what they're doing. So you come in and you are like, oh, I do have a bit of lower back pain, and I have seen this come time and time again. We've got you. We've seen this quite a few times. We've got heaps of tools to help you out. We can support you, and we can adapt around how you're feeling and how you're performing as well. So to have a team that's quite integrated, that all speak and know how you're performing, doesn't matter when you're coming in. You're going to have a great support system, people that can modify and adjust, so you can keep doing what you want to do and keep adapting and getting better and better.
And you often hear like the language is it's also been affected by like social medias and stuff like that. You do hear people come in kind of thing, and like we were talking about earlier, when someone says, I want to put on strength, like what does that look like to you? What does that mean to you? When someone says I want to lose weight, it's like what does that mean to you? And it's also the same thing with how people express pain. Sometimes you'll have someone, a newbie in, and they'll come in and they'll be, I have so much pain, and you're like, oh, as a coach, you're like, oh no, like where's the pain? They're like in my quads. And what have you just been
Good.
doing? Lunges. Oh, okay. Is that pain or just like are the muscles like pumped and sore from the work you've just done? And it's kind of like trying to get like both. We have to work on our language, and at the same time, you have to register what members are saying when they use certain words.
Like, hey man, this is completely normal, but if you want to help mitigate this, let's talk sleep recovery. But if you've never trained before and you're coming in, these are completely normal things, and your body will adapt, and these sensations will dull as you go along.
And later on, you may love it.
Yes. But the big P word, the old pain word, that is, as you're saying, language is so important. Like, I think a lot of people fob off language and the importance of it through training. I think we've been quite conscious about it for quite some time to, again, just carve that positive environment for individuals. Because what can we affect in here? We can affect two things as coaches. We can affect biology by selecting movements and training programs and all that sort of stuff, and the psychological aspect, the environment, language, interactions, culture, all those sorts of things. And both of those are intertwined with the user's experience and how they're going to adapt, and how they feel safe and comforted and supported. They might seem like soft words, but they're so important to carve out that positive environment for the individual and to get adaptation, adherence, and confidence through their training.
Yeah, no, and like the kind of whole biopsychosocial model of training really has a place in like Mitch was saying, like we're looking at their biology. That's something we really know a lot about, and we want to affect that so they can get results. And we're looking at their psychology, and especially in a motivation type way, as well as like how they feel in the session at the time, and the social side of things. Is the social side of things outside of here? Are they supported? Do they have accountability at home? And are our members and the coaches giving them that accountability and that support here as well? So I think like the coach has such an amazing job, and we can do so much for our members when they come in all three of them aspects. And that's something that we definitely learn later on in life. How oh well, let's make this a comfortable place for them to come in. Comfortable in the sense of come in and like you've got a bunch of friends around you, but not so much comfortable in the fact that you're going to work. We want you to work here, but you're going to be supported while you work.
What a fun balance. I love, like, when I come into the night, I see a nice busy session. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. Look at all these beautiful people. I can't wait to catch up and see how this person's weekend went, how their last session went, how their kids go with this, and then kind of just have that connection and knowing and understanding the individual. But like you said, craft that experience for them when they're in here. We're gonna work. We're gonna crush this session.
And Mitch, you could definitely attest to this. Being in the army, I'd say like that struggle brings out the best in people. When you struggle with someone else, like wow, it's like
Oh,
you've experienced something. You
camaraderie.
are bonded like
Yeah,
through that.
yeah. Like friendship, like through sweat, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
Mick, like you get that through rugby, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's just like, I think any like shared experience is really good, but especially the ones that suck, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
someone's
Yeah,
hard, you're going to
yeah,
remember that and remember that you did it with someone else, that kind
yeah.
of thing.
Like I do jujitsu, and I think it's like a weird thing. Like you simulate murder on each other for a couple of minutes, and then like afterwards, I just hug you. I'm like, oh, thanks for that, man. Thanks for trying to kill me. I really enjoyed that. So that's on like multiple different levels. That kind of shared discomfort for friendship and camaraderie.
And you see that like with our groups in the gym, seeing like 12 when you walk in and you see 12 people training together hard. There's a feeling in the room, right? Like you can feel it. Like there's people laughing, bantering while struggling to breathe, and feeling that soreness in their muscles.
I guess kind of like go back to habits and goals. So we've kind of gone how to layer and how to get a performance, where someone should start. I guess too, like if you haven't had that conversation with someone that can help guide you, reach out. If you have a coach at your own gym or someone like here, if you're unsure or if this is a conversation you need to have or you think it will benefit you, reach out. We don't know unless we know, and we'll try and poke and prod where we can. But it's always on you too to reach out and then see if you need extra support.
100%. I think that can help as well. Discussing it with someone else who maybe has a bit more knowledge can help with you ascertain exactly what you want as well. Because like a lot of people, haven't listened to this yet, obviously. A lot of people would go, "Oh, I didn't actually know that I need to dig a bit deeper and understand why I want something. I need to figure out and get to the crux of what I actually want to do, rather than just saying, oh, I'd love to feel better."
Yeah.
So they need to find that measurable they're going to use to track it, figure out what they need to put in place to get there.
Yeah, and understand themselves a little bit more in the process, right? Really start like in sometimes when you don't ask yourself the question, yeah, you don't inherently just know yourself until you actually ask yourself a question.
100%. Pen and paper sometimes even the best thing.
Oh,
Sit down.
yeah.
What do I want? Why? Why again? When do I want it?
To be
Why?
introspective is just a beautiful quality as a person, right? But to attach it to sport performance, just health, whatever it happens to be, it's a great way just to itemize what you're actually going to be after. If you
And
know what you want, it's so much easier to achieve.
And when it does come to goals, it is small. Start small. Lots of little things that you can do consistently. Layer on it. Build something extra. Put something extra on top of it.
Like
Go
if
again.
anyone wants to dive into this deeper, like how good is Atomic Habits? It's like a gold standard book to kind of consume for like itemizing and breaking down habits and the one percenters and how it can affect you long term.
Yeah, and just what the book does so well is makes things very applicable. Like makes it able to apply. Like you can apply all them things on each chapter. And with that, I feel like just reading self help books in general. I think the act of reading a self help book is just rather than what you take from it and then applying it. It's actually just continuously a mindset that you're shifting while you're doing that. So while you're reading the book is probably the best time to start implementing habits.
Yeah, 100%. I think we've all done that at some stage, right? We kind of
Yeah.
go, it helps like kind of that little motivation for self development, whether it be like physical, mental, relationships, whatever it happens to be. It all intertwines and it all like just intertwines is probably a good word for
Yeah.
it.
Great word.
Boys, any more to add to this?
No, I think that
Yeah.
does pretty good.
I
Pretty
guess
thorough.
anyone's made it this far, well done.
Thank you.
If you guys have any requests for like anything extra you want us to kind of yap on about, we're more than happy. And especially if you want us to bring someone in, I think there's something we're really keen on is bringing professionals from other disciplines, whether it be physio, dietitians, athletes, whatever. I'm happy to have that conversation and dive deeper and kind of provide extra content to you guys.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Well, check this out. We'll chuck this up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Play, and but look out. Give us some feedback. Let us know how we went. Some of you, please be kind. Please be kind. I'm fragile. Anything else, lads?
No, that's fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Catch you
Thanks,
later.
guys.